Hi everyone, I'm just Isa and welcome to Dark History of Sweden. Today we will be talking about another serial rapist, so if this triggers or makes you uncomfortable, skip this video. Your well-being is more important than a true crime video. Take care of yourself. Today's topic is Hagamannen, the Haga man. A brutally violent rapist who put terror into every woman and girl in Umeå during the late 90s and early 2000s. This is a very similar case to the one last time, Hagamannen. If you haven't seen that one, there will be a link up in the corner and at the end of this video. The only funny thing about this, and a little bit weird, is actually that this guy's name is also Niklas. Just like last time's video, Hagamannen. His name was also Niklas. And the case we're talking about next time, he was also briefly known as Hagamannen, the Hagaman. Kurt Niklas Lindgren was born 26th of July 1972 in Sörmälje, Umeå. Grew up with his father, mother, and two brothers. And according to himself, he had a perfect childhood. He had no problems with getting friends and was never bullied in school. Allegedly, an old classmate had even said that he was the teacher's favorite and he had pretty good grades. I have like zero empathy for this man, and as further we get into this case, you might understand why. By neighbors, friends, and family, he was known to be quite a normal, average Swedish man. A family man even, with a wife and two small children who lived in a house just outside of Umeå. His wife and children have gotten sheltered accommodation and protected identity since his arrest. He worked at a car repair shop in the plates works department. At work, he was known to be reliable, competent, and a little quiet. When he was arrested, he was at work, just about to go for lunch. No one could believe that it was actually Lindgren who had committed all of those horrible attacks. August 1998. A 14-year-old girl was walking home after hanging out with her friends. Quite early on her walk, she noticed a man walking behind her. She chose a different path and walked over to the other side of the road to get rid of him. But he just followed her across the street. When she reached Hagaparken, she started to run, and he ran after her. Right before a small bridge across a stream, he caught up to her, grabbed her, threw her to the ground, kicked her, placed a scarf over her throat, choking her. But he was interrupted by a passerby. He let go of the chokehold and pushed her down into the stream before he escaped the scene. Sunday, May 9th, 1999. A 26-year-old woman was walking home by Hagaparken after a night out with friends. She was walking with a friend, but when they got closer to her apartment, they said bye and walked in different directions. After a short while, the woman heard footsteps behind her rather quickly. At first, she thought it was someone she knew who caught up to her. She turned around to say hi when she was struck on her throat. She ran off and he followed, quickly caught up to her again, tackled her to the ground and choked her before raping her. When he was done, he looked at her and said, "You're pathetic," took her bag and yelled at her to disappear from his sight. As he walked away, he went through her bag, throwing things on the ground, leaving a trail until the bag was empty. Threw the bag on the ground and kept walking. He kept her wallet and phone. Later, he would call her home phone several times. She would answer but be met with silence. Saturday, November 6th, 1999. There would be 3 assaults in just 1 hour. The first one took place around 2:30 in the morning. A 50-year-old woman was on her way home after a night out dancing with friends. As she was getting closer to home in Haga, she started to hear quick footsteps. Soon after, she is getting attacked by someone from behind. The person put a belt over her throat. She desperately asked why and what he was doing, but he only threatened her and told her to be quiet or else it would end badly. She struggled to get away from him, kicking and screaming, but he only answered with more violence, hitting her in the face and head several times while strangling her. She faded in and out of consciousness while the man raped her. When the assault was over, she got up and made her way home, but the man followed her. By the gate, he rushed past her, grabbed her keys, and opened it. The woman saw her chance, rushed inside, and yelled loudly in the staircase, so it echoed throughout the entire building. She rang the doorbell of a neighbor, and the man ran away with her keys. The next assault took place just 20 minutes later, around 2:50. A 23-year-old woman was on her way home when she met a man walking towards her. He raised his arms and pushed a scarf against her chest and throat as he tried to tackle her to the ground. They fought and she kicked him in the groin and pushed her fingers as hard as she could into his cheek. She thought she got a way out and got up, but he pushed her down once again, hitting her in the face several times. She succeeded in pushing him over, getting up, and ran away. After about 20 meters, she turned around and saw that he was running the other way. The last assault of this night would take place 10 to 15 minutes later. An 18-year-old woman was on her way home to her sister when she saw a man on the other side of the street, walking in the direction she came from. After he passed her, she turned around and saw that he was running towards her. He ripped her handbag from her and she yelled, "What are you doing?" yanking back the handbag. He then hit her on the left side temple of her head. She got dizzy but successfully ran from the area. She turned around and saw that he continued on in the opposite direction. During all of this, she saw no other but the man. Sunday, March 19th, 2000. Another 2 assaults took place. And this is when his pattern changes. All of the attacks until this point had taken place in the urban area of Haga, but now he moved further down, closer to the city center. Around 1:15 in the morning, a 22-year-old woman was on her way home after a party. She was talking on the phone all the way. She stopped to unlock the gate to get inside. In the reflection of the window, she saw a man walk past her, only to return moments later, grabbed a hold of her shoulder and turned her around. Annoyed and scared, she asked, "What do you want?" Instead of an answer, he punched her in the face. She started to scream and fight back against him. Never once did he say anything, and in her testimony, she recalled him being very calm and collected, like he wanted something from her. He succeeded in taking her down to the ground. In panic, she pulls out her phone, believing that he wants to rob her, and tells him to just take it. But he just stood there, staring at her, and then ran away. She left the phone outside and got into the stairwell and kept screaming until a woman showed up and helped her. 30 minutes later, at 1:45, another 22-year-old woman got assaulted at the university campus, 3 kilometers away from its last assault. The woman leaving the bar walks through the campus. Passing by the greenhouses, a man walks in her direction. As soon as they pass each other, he jumps her and tackles her to the ground. Everything happened so fast that she didn't have time to react. But when she got her bearings, she struggled against him, but he punched her in the face and upper body. He dragged her away to a concealed yard behind a dumpster. She screamed for help, but he covered her mouth with his hand. She fought against him. He took a stranglehold on her, pushed until she couldn't breathe. Didn't stop until she stopped struggling. He repeated it several times and she lost consciousness a few times. The assault was brutal and continued for a long time. Sometimes he got out of her vision, gave her hope to escape, but as she got up, he attacked her once again. He raped and abused her for a few hours before leaving her in the cold snow pile, severely hurt. He took her student ID, driver's license, and her shoes. It wasn't until 3 a.m. that a guard found her, no shoes, ripped clothes, and brutally beaten. Because of the brutal and violent nature of this assault, it was treated as both a sexual assault and a murder attempt. Friday, December 1st, 2000. A 15-year-old girl was violently raped. On her way home from a friend, she saw a man without a jacket and a pink shirt. As he passed her, he smiled at her, then turned and jumped her, ripped her pants off, and dragged her through the snow, hitting and strangling her as she called for help and for her dad. The man covered her mouth to stop her shouting, pushed her into the ground, and told her to be calm. After the assault, he let her go, and she ran away. He stood there, watching her. But it was not labeled as rape until years later when they finally connected this to Hagamannen. They hadn't thought that this was Hagamannen since it didn't take place where he usually committed his assaults, in Haga, but in the area of Ersboda. When they finally published a picture of the man in the newspaper in 2006, the girl recognized him and called the police to report it. It wasn't until 5 years later that there was another assault with his MO. Saturday, December 10th, 2005, around 1 in the morning, a 51-year-old woman was brutally assaulted and raped by Hagamannen. She walked home across Tegsbron, saw a man wobbling on the other side of the street. Then he seemed to change and wobble towards her, pushed her to the ground, and she laughed, thinking he was just joking. He was extremely aggressive and pushed her down in the snow, beating, strangling her, and even bit off a piece of her ear. Even if she hit and kicked him, he didn't react. She got the feeling that he had done this before. He repeated several times, "I'm going to kill you." After having raped her, he dragged her down to the ice and open water. All she could think was that he was going to drown her. She grabbed hold of a tree and held on for dear life. She was assaulted so terribly that the police deemed it to be another murder attempt as well as rape. After that second attack, they got signalement on the perpetrator. About 165 to 170 centimeters tall, around 30 years old, average built, short dark blonde hair, dark or black leather jacket, light blue jeans, and suede cowboy boots that were blunt in the front with a metal clasp in the back. Swedish, talked without an accent or a distinct dialect. They sent police dogs to follow the trail and his scent, but it abruptly stopped by a workshop. At the time, they theorized that he either got picked up or his car was parked there. Later, years later, it was revealed that he actually had a key to the shop, because he worked there. A forensic technician scoured the area where they believed the attack took place. When they first pointed him to where, the area was almost as large as a soccer field. He got down on his knees and started searching. He had to work fast so that evidence wasn't destroyed or ruined. Luckily, he found blood in one spot, and by it a cigarette butt and a transparent liquid. They had found sperm. So they could get the DNA and find out who this man was. But unfortunately, it wasn't that easy. After the night with the 3 assaults, the newspaper Västerbottens-Kuriren gave him the name Hagamannen, since it seemed as if he only attacked women around the Haga area. By this time, the 3rd assault wasn't known, so it was only talked about the 2 first ones. The police tried to get a clear image of what the man could look like, so the 2 women get to help make a phantom sketch. When they get the sketch, they decide not to publish them to the public. But their description seems to be accordant. Short blonde hair, not that tall, plain Nordic appearance, black leather jacket, cowboy boots, no tattoos or other distinctive marks, and small feet. They create a new perpetrator profile compiled by all the facts they know and compare with all the registers in Sweden. Some of the points in that profile were that he used retaliating aggressive rape. He quickly and violently assaults the victim, usually throws himself over them, hits them in the face, and strangles them. The communication is short, commanding, and tortuously. They interpret this as a serial rapist, and they are convinced that the violence will only escalate. The investigation intensifies, and at least 30 police officers are working on the case. They chart out Haga and go door to door to ask everyone who lives there about the case, what they know, if they've seen anything, or recognize the description. With the help of the profiling, the police can make the assumption that Hagamannen lives or at least has a safe place in the area of Haga. One place of interest, a hotspot, was a walking tunnel that connected Haga with the central city. A tunnel most of the victims had at some point walked through on their way to Haga. The theory was that it was here he chose his victims. After the first assault on the 19th of March 2000, a taxi driver followed a suspicious man that he saw running away close to where the girl had been attacked. He called the police, and they sent 3 cars to look for the suspect, but they didn't find him. After the second assault that very same night, he was actually spotted by a policeman on his way home after his shift. He had caught his eye because the man fit the description of the perpetrator. The policeman followed him in his car, drove past him, and turned around to get a better look at the man. He stopped at a gas station to call the guidance head office and then continued to follow the suspect. The last he saw of the suspect was him disappearing between 2 houses, so he stopped and waited for reinforcement. The patrols were sent, but they were stuck at the campus where the last assault took place, so it took them a while to get there. The policeman that had followed him had seen him run into a courtyard with an apartment building with 2 doors. It was about 2 stories and 2 to 3 apartments per floor. The police that then arrived looked into the 2 doors and stairwells, but they couldn't find any signs of the man. But they missed checking the door to the basement, where he was hiding. In interrogation later, he said that he actually had the key to his brother's apartment right across the street, and he got away from the police that were circling the area. After this, the police were heavily criticized for not catching this criminal. This could have been the greatest chance for them to end these assaults. The forensic technicians' focus was to gather as much DNA tracks from the crime scene as possible, but the normal methods didn't work in the fresh snow. The technicians took out spoons and looked for spots that were different color than the white snow, scooped it up and put it in glass jars. Back at the lab, they tested it, and after a week, they got results. They had found sperm in the snow. This connected the different crimes where DNA evidence had been gathered to each other. The fear now was that there was a huge possibility that the next one would end up with murder. The police told all women to be careful, not to go out alone, get a taxi, or have someone they know drive them instead. They warned everyone that they feared that the next one might end up as murder. A communal anger builds, and the people in Umeå question why the police can't find this man. A vigilance committee starts. Self-defense classes are arranged, and the civilians prepare themselves to fight. In Sweden, tear gas is illegal, but some women try to get a hold of it anyways. They went on the news giving advice on what you could use by legal manners. For example, hairspray or a fork instead. The women felt as if all the responsibility was put on them, when it should be the men that shouldn't rape or assault women to begin with. And this is relevant to this day. I myself debate this often. We as women should be able to go out without fearing for our lives. Shouldn't have to be extremely cautious, not have to think about not dressing provocatively or hold our keys in our hands to use in self-defense. The responsibility should be on the police. The assaults shouldn't happen at all. Umeå has always had quite a large feminist movement, and girls and women gathered to march through the city with the slogan, "Take back the night," to show that they would not stand for this behavior. This sad excuse of a man would not make them cower. After the assault on the 1st of December 2000, the police came to an office party and told them that there had been an assault nearby and asked if they had heard anything. Unfortunately, they hadn't. It was later revealed that this was the same car company where Hagamannen worked. He was on lists and photos from that night. He had been there, left early, and raped the young girl on his way home. The police worked diligently on the case, researched every tip they got, and now had a pretty good sense of all the men with irregular behavior, but none of these men had matching DNA profiles. They asked all the men that had been tipped off to voluntarily leave a DNA test. They needed technical evidence to create a proper case against this man, since all the assaults took place late at night when it's dark and there are few or no proper witnesses. After 2 years, no more assaults or leads, the police have nothing to further their investigation, so they release the Phantom sketch. This led to a lot of innocent men being accused or targeted because they somewhat fit the description, had some similarities to the Phantom sketch. Even if this narrows it down, they didn't get any closer to finding the perpetrator, and then he just seemed to disappear. The night of December 10th, 2005, another violent assault took place. There was a heavy snowfall that night, and the forensic technician was afraid that he wouldn't be able to get any evidence. Fortunately, they could find a small amount of DNA on the victim's ear since he bit it off. Through this, they could connect that assault with the others and confirm that it was Hagamannen that had struck again 5 years later. 20th of January 2006, the police received a tip about a man that looked like the Phantom photo, and unfortunately, this tip ended up far down on their priority list since it was too vague. It isn't until a few months later they finally get to investigate it. Lindgren was called in for interrogation, but just days ahead he called in to cancel. But he showed up to the next appointment. In connection to the interrogation, he was asked to leave a DNA test, but he refused. But thanks to a newly changed law in Sweden, the police could now force suspects to leave a DNA sample. A short while later, they got the test results back, and it was a match. Hagamannen was Kurt Niklas Lindgren. 29th of March 2006, the 33-year-old Niklas Lindgren was apprehended, and on the 31st of March, he was jailed until further notice. This was because they believed that he would try and obviate evidence, as well as commit more crimes. He was charged with 6 cases of assault, 2 cases of severe rape and murder attempts, 3 cases of severe rape, and 1 case of rape attempts. Annika Öster, head prosecutor, led the prosecution against Lindgren and pressed for a lifetime in prison because of the severity and violent nature of the assaults. During interrogation, he doesn't have a clear answer to why he did it or how he chose his victims. Most of the time, Lindgren blamed it on being drunk, and he didn't seem to have any regrets or feel remorse for what he did to those women. According to his lawyer, Leif Silbersky, Lindgren doesn't have an explanation and said that he felt like 2 people. One that had done something awful, and one that couldn't understand how the other could do it. April 17th, 2006, it was decided that Lindgren was to go through a forensic psychiatric evaluation that would last about 4 weeks. This to see if he was deemed sane enough to get the prison sentence, of which they deemed him to be sane. April 22nd, he confessed to the 6 crimes he was a suspect of. And this was strengthened and proved with the help of DNA, shoe size, since he had quite small feet, and he collected trophies from these crimes, which were found in a box in his basement. And apart from that, the victims' testimonies and his own confession. In the end, the 33-year-old Kurt Niklas Lindgren wasn't sentenced to lifetime in prison. Instead, he got 14 years. He was then released after 9 years, on the 28th of July 2015. The first few months free he spends in Norrbotten, and one day on his way home, he is attacked and assaulted by 3 men. They ran up to him and hit him in the head with a golf iron, and continuously yelled that they would kill him as they hit him with the golf iron. They recognized him as Hagamannen and wanted to punish him further. They were charged, but later acquitted. To this day, he still haven't fully paid the indemnity to the women, and owes the state 400,000 Swedish crowns. His DNA will also be removed from the DNA index in 2025. That was all I had on Hagamannen, another horrific case and man that terrified an entire city. Next time we will talk about Södermannen, who is also briefly known as Hagamannen. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss it. And don't forget to like and comment this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of each other and yourself, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye! Kurt Niklas Lindgren was okay. Normal. I fucked it up. Okay. They fought, and she kicked him in the groin and pushed her cheek. Pushed her fingers, not her cheeks. What the fuck is going on? Because he fit this shit. Kurt Niklas. I'm sorry. Oh god. That was funny. Psychiatric.